Sampo and a very warm welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program. I'm Kinsang Haden. Our top stories of the week. His Majesty the King graces Desun passing out parade in Gelipu. His Holiness the Jekempo presides over Quorum to avert natural calamities and for the country's economic prosperity. And National Mushroom Center identifies 50 poisonous mushrooms, around 5,000 yet to be identified. His Majesty the King graced the passing out parade of the Desun at the Pelritha in Gelipu on 16th June. The 56th batch Desun training, which began in March this year, was developed as a special program to pilot part of the Gelsung training, which all Bhutanese youths will receive beginning next year. It was designed to be as close to the Gelsung training as possible, with the training located close to one of the Gelsung academies and taking place at the same time of the year.
500 young men and women participated in the 3.5 months training program, which consisted of basic military training, national education, and life skills development. Speaking at the passing out parade, His Majesty said that in the course of nation building, we embark on some goals that can be achieved quickly, and others which span generations and millennia, fueled by a sense of providence.
Kachishu Jeshudi Majirigi Nosum Tantang Betang Jatang the Anisu Virgin, the Janka Kate mi bidding a Jirana Dugiakabna Luyu, the Aniben Loksap Shizu Bemisu. I believe it took 1,000 years to give us our uniqueness. Maybe more than 1,000 years. Multiple generations. History, experience, war, famine, calamity, death. Good times, bad times. It took 1,000 years to shape who we are, sir. That cannot be created overnight. Everything else can be achieved during our lifetime, sir. That is what we are trying to preserve, protect, restore, and reinforce, sir.
Bhutan's uniqueness grew out of the efforts of multiple generations over 1,000 or more years and has shaped our identity as a nation. Such a legacy can only be built over time and with continuous effort, and the Desung and Gelsung programs are part of the endeavor to reinforce our heritage. His Majesty thanked the young participants for choosing to volunteer their time for the program, which represents the first steps towards Bhutan embarking on a new journey. You helped our future generations take the first steps forward, His Majesty said.
This is the first step towards Bhutan embarking on a new journey. As you already know and are aware of, next year we introduce national service. Shuma lochudam ki jable Gelsung se thakyumi bumla betyong konkare ki lam gutsubdalu komte tambam di chegi po chinjimisa. You helped our future generations take the first steps. The first step is always the most important step. Maumpole machekaragi majebobe chelu karigasoonsa.
Following the parade, His Majesty the King visited the Gelsung Academy site at Taretan in Gelipu. This is Kipchu for PBS News.
His Holiness the Jekempo presided over a 6-day quorum to avert natural disasters in the country at the Tashi Chezong's Tendeltha in Thimphu starting 17th June. The prayer ceremony was conducted by monks from the central monastic body. Gembo Tsepami rituals, which include Seku Geba and Yanku prayers, were also performed for the country's economic prosperity during the 6-day event. Along with the Quorum, His Holiness consecrated a Jabdrung Pinsum Tsokpa Thonde belonging to the community of Tsangpo Chiok in Tashigan's Trimshing Geok. Meanwhile, during the event, prayers were also offered for the success of His Majesty's developmental vision for the country.
We are conducting it as Chaku Yanku ritual. It is also aimed for the country's economic prosperity, long life of all the people, and importantly as a prayer to retain people in the country, since most of the people are leaving the country for foreign countries.
The Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC Fund, has pledged assistance to Bhutan in achieving its sustainable development goals related to energy, climate action and non-communicable disease. This includes providing technical assistance, advisory services and knowledge through their Climate Finance and Energy Innovation Hub. Prime Minister Dr. Lotus Tsering attended the OPEC Fund Development Forum 2023 in Vienna, Austria on 21st June, where this commitment was made. OPEC Fund is already involved in financing hydropower projects such as Gamri 1 in Tashigan and Begana hydropower project in Thimphu. According to a joint statement from the Bhutanese government and the OPEC Fund, the Multilateral Development Finance Institution has also expressed interest in supporting Dojilung hydropower project through a World Bank co-financing consortium. The Royal Civil Service Commission has announced the introduction of its annual leave scheme, which will come into effect from next month. According to a notification released on 20th June, the new leave system is in addition to its existing leave options and that it is not a replacement of the earned leave. The RCSC say the new leave is mainly to promote periodic rejuvenation and work-life balance for civil servants.
According to the RCSC notification, the earned leave and LTC will be distributed month-wise and included as a part of the monthly variable compensation under the Variable Pay in line with the Pay Structure Reform Act. The new policy will apply to all civil servants except for teachers who are entitled to annual school vacations. However, unlike in the past, any unused leaves from the annual, casual and preparatory groups will now not be allowed to carry over to the subsequent year. And the balance of the earned leave accumulated till the end of this month, up to a maximum of 90 days, can either be used while in service or encashed while exiting the civil service. Sonam Yudan for BBS News.
Increasing the export of ferrosilicon is one of several strategies the government is looking at to offset the country's negative balance of trade. This was shared by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and External Trade at the National Assembly Question Hour session on 20th June. The Minister was questioned on the government's plans and strategies in regard to the growing trade deficit. A trade deficit occurs when the value of a country's imports exceeds the value of its exports.
According to Bhutan Trade Statistics 2022, the country's total exports amounted to more than 56 billion yutam. Bhutan's total imports in 2022 reached almost 119 billion yutam. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and External Trade shared that of the total exports, the highest was that of ferrosilicon, totaling up to 19 billion yutam. Other exports included hydroelectricity and mines and minerals, which were heavily affected during the pandemic, leading to a drastic decrease in the country's exports.
One of the biggest commerce in the country that is generating even higher profits than hydroelectricity is that of the sale of ferrosilicon. Currently, we have over 20 people who are interested in starting ferrosilicon businesses in the country.
However, he added the insufficiency of electricity has disrupted the process of granting permission to the interested businesses. He said electricity projects are being prioritized in order to focus on developing the ferrosilicon business. The minister also outlined several other strategies to strengthen trade. One he shared is the ongoing discussions with neighboring countries to facilitate trade. Another is to prioritize certification and standardization of local goods.
In order to enhance commerce, certification and standardization has to be prioritized, which will assist trade with 185 countries, which is currently being established between India and Singapore.
He added, industrial estates and heavy taxation on imported goods have also been established to promote the domestic industry. He said trade fairs and the mini dry ports have also helped promote exports. Lempo Dr. Tandi also highlighted notable trade projects such as the Traffic in Transit Agreement with Bangladesh, as well as the preferential trade agreements signed with Thailand and Bangladesh that will help increase the country's exports. According to the minister, the largest import category last year was IT-related equipment, which accounted for 12 billion yutam. Rice imports amounted to 3 billion yutam, while import of smartphones totaled to almost 2 billion yutam. Sringdiki for PBS News.
The Agriculture and Livestock Ministry has proposed to provide subsidy and reduce the power tiller hiring charges in the next financial year. The minister said this during the question hour session in the National Assembly on 16th June. According to the minister, 250 million yutam budget has been proposed in the next financial year and the parliament has yet to pass the budget. The Khamdang Ramjar MP asked the government if there are any possibilities to provide subsidy.
According to the Khamdang Ramjar MP, these days farmers have to pay about 2,500 Newton per day as power tiller hiring charges to the Farm Machinery Corporation compared to the previous rate of 1,800 Newton.
The people are saying that the government has supported them until last year, but they are saying they did not receive it this year. It would be beneficial if the government can revisit it.
Some local leaders BBS talked to in Pemagatil said reduction in hiring charges will encourage farmers to work harder.
In the past, the power tillers provided by the government really benefited us. Since the increase in hiring charge, the people have not been able to use the services like before. If the government, instead of recollecting, reduces the cost of the previous cost, the farmers will be more encouraged to do farm works.
This year the cost has been increased. We were not able to utilize any of the machines this year and they remained idle near our Gyeok. Looking at the situation, it would be better if they recollect the machines if the cost cannot be reduced.
According to the Agriculture and Livestock Minister, the government was not able to provide subsidy during the current financial year due to budget constraints.
As proposed by the Finance Ministry, there is 250 million yultram allocated for subsidy in the budget. If the members of parliament support it while deliberating the report, we will be able to provide the services.
Meanwhile, the minister also added that the Gyeoks can decide and surrender the power tillers if they do not want it. The minister clarified this as the FMCL has notified 3 districts of the east, Pemagatil, Tashigong and Tashyangsi, to recollect 138 power tillers. With additional information from Chiladoji, this is Sringdiki for PBS News.
The Druk Green Power Corporation, along with a panel of experts from France and Italy, is updating the detailed project report or DPR of the 1,125 megawatt hydropower plant at Dojilung in Monkar. The Energy and Natural Resources Minister Loknath Sharma said this during the question hour session of the National Assembly on 20th June. The DPR is an extensive outline of a project with essential information such as the resources and tasks to be carried out to make the project successful. The minister said 4 million yutam has been allocated for the update of DPR by the World Bank. The first report was conducted in 2015. The minister was responding to Monkar MP Karmal Hamu's question. Completing the groundwork for the Dojilung hydropower project by 2023 was one of the pledges made by MP Karmal Hamu during the by-election 2 years ago.
For the DPR to be updated, it will take about 8 to 9 months. Meanwhile, we are working on finding a budget for the project. Funding from one bank is not enough for this project. We are collaborating with the World Bank to execute this project. The project will cost $1.4 billion US. The World Bank has agreed to provide $300 million US. However, this will not be sufficient for the project. So, the bank is working on building consortium with other banks such as ADB, JICA, and OPEC.
In the National Council Question Hour session on 17th June, the Education and Skills Development Minister said it is not feasible to have a national education policy as teaching learning methods keep on changing and evolving. The members of the National Council also quizzed the minister about shortage of teachers across the country and if the government would consider employing teachers who have previously resigned.
According to the Education and Skills Development Minister, about 500 teachers resigned so far this year. The minister said the country currently has a shortage of 800 teachers. The Dagana MP Birindra Chimoria suggested the ministry to employ private school teachers who are unemployed and regularize contract teachers to solve the teacher shortage issue.
Khabab gi lebe di dero contract teacher di permanent be de debe khodisulon gokap nam dauchi bawachin yan gom jube mijong se maragi no samde ani bi se shooting junila dangba bewda niba bewda gergi lobda lashachi te godam go thein se junila te debe godam dalu gergi lebe disu do te yo matwa demedu te khodisu nge jorgi lebe membela debda nyamnyong yebi gi lebe imle tendigi be te khodisu lenda wachin te doto nyakapchigi denle te khabab gi nalu bedawachin tabde se te ngaragyan nomela
ta lobda lalu thorim lobda disu gi nyedablu yemi disunan thorim lobda gi lecture disu lobda nale pha jindigi be te chuchin disu tengo bi gi netang le thunu si shunila degi madowa chuchin thekar du bi temi gi lebi gi jangkhaya malamba yebli tendigi be te ki te mi disu gi chendrik tengop ten inki temi disu gi garab disu tengop them dalu te kelyong chokdigi sagi dia de shirigi pichidi dasika de be tabdoga siwigi sagi chi in si shunila
gyakablu kha chodi gelongi shirigi sijudi in isila national education policy di ngachigi sheshipchigi banalu namlo nyutong chujile nahin sensigi banalu zindina draft nara do sishuni indi besichure ngaragi samchale imdochi bewachin ngachigi gyahab nalu chitangi shirigi nalu ani shirigi sijuchi dingdi mebal tendigi be ta tabjida tablam dinalu chashi gachira chamdi bedibire chetibe jomatu bebodalu ngacharagi upashesa di khacheudi di sijudi.
The Education Minister informed the House that the ministry is aware of the issue and is working with the district administrations to recruit teachers.
ngachigi khabab gi lebechu te khonagi jesuk benigi recruit benigi wangchedi te khaba ribabero ma jongkhaglu tedigi be nam gopchi kadimji gopchi tabde tok tu be khonagi te recruit bechun digi te khonlu ngachigi wangche be te dare hanimji te dare tato chen nyama jumbe te ngachara seri gopenda ta dasjong dasu shen da lokujin chugi chage nyama jumbe nyanyung somi so nyanyung di tato namsame nyuta the yamidi tanimena sagi no di wishun bena.
The minister also added that having a national education policy is not feasible given the nature of the education sector.
The sherik da jen asimida sashuni bena. The sherigi satim zum tato cham dauchi bewachin daro tatore halam te netang da jurwa jurje juiju beodalu ngachige la benida da ngache chasung chu jurje chapni thethe te ngachige pedagogy sulme tenthang chu marobera ta to judalu chatim chu chamgop ina imra imachin da ngachera daro dedur chu lejumbe chedur chu lejumbe da shipche chu lejumbe di the chi digi be the be wachin the legimoni me shunimela.
According to the Minister, the Education and Skills Development Ministry will discuss with the Royal Civil Service Commission to come up with solutions to the teacher shortage issue. For Sonam Yudin, this is Sringdiki for BBS News.
The National Mushroom Center has confirmed 50 mushrooms in the country as poisonous, while thousands more are being studied for identification. And with mushroom foraging season just around the corner, the center is cautioning people to avoid the consumption of unidentified mushrooms. Currently, the center has sent around 5,000 mushroom samples to Japan and Europe for identification.
Mushrooms possess medicinal properties. However, certain varieties can pose severe health risks, even leading to death. The National Mushroom Center's records reveal over 100 cases of mushroom poisoning and more than 30 recorded deaths between 1994 and 2020. Thus, the center is advising people about mushroom poisoning, an issue that has continued for more than 2 decades. According to mushroom specialist Tawa Penjor, poisonous mushrooms can harm the brain and kidneys, causing dizziness, abdominal cramping, diarrhea, nausea, and even death. He added that there is no specific medication for mushroom poisoning, although treatments like stomach wash and inducing vomiting can be effective if administered before the poison spreads throughout the body.
There is no easy way to tell which mushrooms are toxic. That's why we strongly advise against consuming any mushroom that you can't identify. It's better to be safe than sorry.
He added that the symptoms can appear anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 days after consumption. To raise awareness and educate the public, the National Mushroom Center has conducted training sessions for mushroom collectors. They have also distributed informative posters and calendars to schools, PHUs, local leaders, and agriculture and forestry extension agents. Meanwhile, out of about 6,000 mushrooms discovered in the country by the National Mushroom Center, only around 1,000 mushrooms have been successfully identified. The center has been sending mushroom samples for identification to Japan for almost 5 years now and began sending them to Europe only last year. Tashyangden, PBS News.
The country is currently facing an egg shortage leading to soaring prices. Owing to the shortage, a tray of eggs cost as high as 490 Newton in the capital. A few weeks earlier, a tray of eggs cost between 350 to 380 Newton. Moreover, some residents said it is not easily available.
According to a shopkeeper in Thimphu, the egg suppliers charge more than 3,000 Newton per carton, which usually cost about 2,200 Newton.
350 to 380.
Before, we used to sell eggs at much lower prices than now. It used to be sold from 350 to 380 Newton, but now the minimum price is 450 Newton. I do not know the reason behind the increase, but the suppliers charge 3,000 Newton per carton. So we are compelled to sell at a higher price too.
BBS visited some of the poultry farms in Chirang, and the farmers said the egg production has reduced drastically this time.
Earlier, I used to supply 40 cartons of eggs in Thimphu in a week, but now I am able to supply only 25 cartons. I feel it is because of the lack of protein in the feed, which has reduced the production. When I had 40 cartons a week, I used to sell them at a price of 300 Newton per tray. These days, I sell 25 cartons of eggs. That is the reason why we sell it at a higher price.
If we talk about egg demand and supply before 1 year, BLDC imported eggs and sold, which was lower than the farmer's egg price here in Bhutan. The feed prices here is higher. So, big poultry farms in Sarpong and Chirang are closed. There are only few farms in the country, so the supply is low.
The farmers added that the situation was further aggravated by middlemen who charge a higher price. According to the Agriculture and Livestock Minister, the country is facing an egg shortage due to a mismatch of demand and supply. The minister added that the farmers are unable to buy feed due to increasing prices. However, the minister said they are working to solve the problem. On the other hand, Karma Feeds is reducing the price of the feeds from tomorrow. According to the company, the feed prices is being reduced as the price of the raw materials have decreased. Officials added that the price of the feeds fluctuate according to the raw material price which are imported from India. Sonam Yuden for BBS News.
That's all for this week. Thank you for watching.